Today we have more federal job cuts. We're seeing budgets slashed to pieces. And a lot of this is coming from one man. And that man's currently the leader of the Office of Management and Budget, Russ Vought. He's the architect to a lot of the chaos you've been seeing recently with the federal workforce. He's been saying some pretty surprising stuff. How's it going to impact you? Let's get into it. You could say Russ, he's a small government guy. He was one of the main authors when it comes to creating Project 2025. Beyond that, he has this deep desire to inject fear into federal employees all across the country. That's one of his big goals. He specifically said, we want, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want to put them in trauma. That's coming directly from leaked audio when he was addressing a private group. So what do you do with a guy like that? Say you're the president of the United States. What do? You have him review some policies. Maybe you use him as an advisor. Or you take it a step further and say, hey, how about we go ahead and place him as the leader of one of the most powerful federal agencies, the OMB. Yeah, the same OMB that oversees federal agencies, regulatory oversight, tracks management and performance, and prepares the president's budget. Yeah, that's the one. And he's been active in conservative groups for over 20 years. President Trump used him to a lesser extent in 2017. He must have loved his performance because now he's taken an even bigger role. Now, this is a religious man. This Russ Vought guy, he's a religious guy. He doesn't believe in big government. He wants government out of his life. He wants it out of all Americans' lives. This is basically what he believes in. Number one, deep conservative and religious roots, a distrust of the federal workforce, nationalism first, heavy cuts to government spending. And while he's designing and pushing all these massive layoffs across the federal government, you know what he's doing at the same time? He's asking to hire more people in the OMB. He needs more staff. He needs to increase his staff. What for, Russ? Why do you want more staff? You want to traumatize federal workers. Are you hiring people just to traumatize them? What's going on? Well, during a recent House Appropriation Committee hearing, Russ said OMB needs a 4% staff increase because they've been stuck at 500 employees for years, even as the government has grown. He said he didn't have enough analysts to do the job. And this is exactly what we're talking about here, right? People are firing 10,000 here, 10,000 there without a second thought. And if you're a leader of that organization, if you're in the leadership team and you're looking down at the structure and organization, like, wait a minute, maybe my agency was staffed correctly. What are all these gaps here? Can we hire contractors? No. Okay. So what are we going to do? We need to rehire some of these people. We got too many gaps. We still need to accomplish the mission. And that type of analysis, it hasn't been getting done. At least not to the level it should have been getting done. So now we got anti-federal workers that want, guess what? More federal workers. Too bad we're still under a hiring freeze. Congressman David Joyce from Ohio asked, why does OMB get a pass while other agencies face drastic cuts? There is no good answer to that. There is no good reply to that. All you can say is, I need them. I need the workers to get the work done. There's too much work. We need workers. You think Russ is going to crawl into a cubicle and start analyzing information and managing correspondence? No. Russ is going to continue to attend meetings. That's what Russ is. He's going to take phone calls. That's what Russ is going to do. He needs workers. Now, during this hearing, thankfully, people questioned him on the things that he was saying about tormenting or traumatizing these federal workers. He was called out on it. Was he honest? Did he come clean? Did he say, yeah, I said it. Maybe I regret it now, but I said it. No, not really. He said his comments were taken out of context and only applied to employees who had been weaponized against the public. He even went on to praise some federal workers, especially the ones that he has in his agency under the OMB. He said that they were among the most resourceful and innovative our country has to offer. Come on, Russ. This is not the rough and tough Russ that we're used to hearing from. What happened to the hatred in your heart, Russ? But not everyone's buying it. Congressman Glenn Ivey from Maryland called him out saying, Your actions reiterate the message that you're trying to traumatize these people. And another member of Congress accused him of randomly scapegoating civil servants instead of fixing their paperwork nightmare. All right, let's take a look at the IRS now. We all knew that they were going to get hammered in 2025, especially as we experienced life under this new administration. There were no doubts about that. They were going to get hit hard. The 2026 budget came out and it hurts the IRS. We're talking about a 20% staff cut, dropping from 97,000 employees to about 78,000. A 37% budget slash from 22 billion to 14 billion. The Yale Budget Lab says that the result of reducing the IRS, cutting its budget, is going to mean less tax revenue to the tune of $159 billion less money that the country has. And the thing about the IRS is we're about to experience some changes to the tax code. You've heard of it. It's the big, beautiful bill. There's a lot of tax changes in there to include the 2017 tax cuts, adjustments to SALT deduction cap, introduction of new deductions, the creation of MAGA savings accounts, and increased taxes on university endowments, among many other additions. So this forces the IRS to scramble, to train their staff, to prepare, and they're doing all of this with much less resources. The IRS says it needs to hire 11,000 call center reps just to maintain current phone support for the 2026 tax season. That's over 800 million calls. 87% of those calls, they were answered. That's what happened this year. The average wait time was only 3 minutes. That's some pretty snappy service that we have, okay? But they're not allowed to hire anyone this calendar year. They have a special exemption where all other agencies, allegedly, supposedly, they're supposed to start hiring July 15th. That's when the hiring freeze is lifted, but not the IRS and not the GSA. They're projecting next year they're only going to be able to answer 16% of calls during the tax season and 11% for the whole year. That means we're going from 87% answering calls all the way down to 16%. That's huge. There's going to be a lot of angry Americans that are trying to get questions about their tax situation. They're not going to reach anyone. It might be AI. You might hear AI, and then you might be given the wrong answer or no answer at all. The former IRS commissioner said that recent funding from the Inflation Reduction Act helped the IRS answer nearly 9 million calls this year. But he warned the agency cannot keep absorbing these cuts. And if you look at the IT department over there, they fired like 50 senior IT leaders, and they had the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, he resigned in April. So you have this huge gap that you cannot just fill. You can't fill that gap with entry-level experience. These are seasoned, qualified individuals. And if you're a qualified individual, let's say you work in IT, you see that. You see 50 people leave from your department. What does that motivate you to do? Do you want to stick around for the next tax season? Probably not, and none of us can blame you. You probably want to go jump to a better opportunity, whether that's the private sector or somewhere else. You're not going to want to stay. The Treasury Secretary is banking on an AI boom to come save the day, because that's what we want in 2025. We want to train AI to replace federal workers. That way we can justify the cuts. We didn't need them because we can get a computer to do it. But a human is still required. When you're doing audits and investigations, you need a human component in that circle of actions. You need someone in there to validate what the computer's doing. Now, let's take a look at AmeriCorps. This is a 30-year agency, and the best way I like to think of AmeriCorps is picture the Peace Corps, but for domestic purposes, for in our country only, not international. So it's for the United States. Hurricane support, low-income communities, educational support, all that stuff. They've been helping out, right? But the president views a lot of this as unnecessary, as big government. So they were ripe for cuts. AmeriCorps received notices that grants worth $500 million were being terminated because they didn't effectuate agency priorities. States like Maryland, California, 24 other states, they sued and they're like, hold up. You can't just pull back this money. This money was congressionally approved. We already got approval. We need to spend our money. President's saying, no, you don't. A federal judge ordered Trump to restore the grants and reinstate Corps members who were discharged early, at least for the states that sued. But she did let AmeriCorps proceed with the cuts. So right now we have about 500 employees that are on shaky ground, to say the least of it. And really, if you look at the wages that they earned over there, like the federal workers that work in AmeriCorps, their wages are below the federal employee average, let's say. So they're not getting paid that much to begin with. Now, in addition to this, we have, you've heard of the RIFs, right? There was an injunction. They stopped the RIFs completely. We have one agency that's like, forget about that. Let's keep this train going. Let's keep the layoff train full steam ahead. That's what they were saying, because these RIFs are different than the other RIFs. There's different RIFs happening for different reasons, so we should just continue on. This could be illegal. This goes against the court injunction order. So if you want to know more about that, check this video out next. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.